Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So first of all, before starting the video, I would like to thank each and everyone. We have released part 1 and part 2, and yes, we are getting a very good response for those two videos. So that highly motivates me to continue this project quite faster. So that's why I am just trying to make things very fast. Okay, so once again, thank you so very much. And there is some change now. I would like to ask for. Let's go ahead and from this video we can create some like target. Okay, so for this video I'm just hoping for 100 likes. Okay, so I hope you guys can make it way quicker. Okay, so once we have 100 like, then we can release the part 4 and we'll continue that in this way. Okay, so let's see how early we can go to that 100 plus likes. Okay, I hope you guys will make it. All right, so let's jump to our deck. Okay, and let's see what else we have completed till now. Okay, so can you see first 3 points are done, where we have created the .NET and Angular project. Okay, then we have seen how to create the login and sign up page in Bootstrap, and then we have completed the most important part of Angular, which is the form validation, and that is also been done. And if you haven't seen this, so there are total 2 parts for which covers these 3 topics. So I have it on my YouTube channel. You can go ahead and watch it if you haven't. Okay, because this is the complete series. So whatever I will be talking today or whatever I'll be showing today, that will be the continuation of those 2 parts. All right, and let's discuss what is the topic for today. Okay, so if you see, we have point number 4, which says that create API for login and sign up. Okay, and we will be using .NET 6, which is the latest version right now. Okay, so for that, we have a form ready already on the front end. Okay, so what we need to do, we need, once the user sign up, then we need to store the record in the database, and whenever the user want to log in, then he can put up his credential and he can go to the dashboard page. Okay, something like that we need to implement. But to send it to the database, so we need some middleware guy, some middle guy who help us to do that, to connect the front end with the database. Because someone has asked me in one of my video in the comments, how do we connect Angular with the database? So I guess this is the way. So this video is for you. So here you can see how we can create those API which helps to connect our front end with the database, where we can store and retrieve all those things. Okay, so we will be using .NET Core as our backend. All right, so if you have seen my first video, there I have shown you how to create a new project in .NET Core. If you haven't seen that, then go ahead and check out this video. I think this will be in first 5 minutes where I have shown that. Okay, if you have not, then I would recommend go ahead and check out that. Okay, so if you have seen my video, then you know how we have created this folder, Angular Auth API. So I will be working more on this side now today, not on the UI side, but yeah, on this side. So let's open this folder and let's open this solution. Okay, so I have Visual Studio 2022. So I guess everybody have this. So if you don't have it, then please, I will recommend to install Visual Studio 2022. I think this is one of the best. I think it's a best upgrade from 2012 to 2022. It is quite faster, and it loads your application also fast as compared to 2019. All right, so I hope you have it also. Okay, so this is how my project looks like currently. Okay, so first of all, again, let's focus on the folder structure. Okay, so what we will be requiring, so we'll require a DB context. So for that, let's create a context folder. Okay, let me create a context folder. Okay, so here we have the context. Then let's create a models folder. We will be writing all our models inside this folder. And we'll also have a helper class. For example, if I want to do some password hashing, so I will be creating a logic there. So let's create a helper folder. Okay, helpers, and okay, we'll create some other if we need, while doing the development. Okay, so this is how the project structure will look like. These all folder we will be having. So this is the one of the important folder, I would say, because we have our controller here. So this is the weather controller for, like, this is provided by .NET itself, so we are not going to touch this one, or if you want you can delete this as well. Okay, all right. So what is the first thing we need to do? So we will be using EF core, okay, and so for that we need to install a few packages. Okay, so because we will be connecting those things with the database. Okay, so what is the database I am using? So for us we will be using SQL Server. Okay, so if you don't have SQL Server, then go ahead and install it, and also you need to have this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So you need to have this, and if you don't know how to install it, just go on YouTube and search for it. It's quite easy to do, and if you want some dedicated video on it, then please do let me know. I'll create it one, but I think you guys can do it. It's very easy to do. Okay, so here we have our SQL Server. Okay, SSM, I call it as SMMS. So it's, I hope you guys have all of it. Okay, now let's start with the model folder. So for the creating the models, let's go here and right click, and let's create a class called as user. Okay, so here we'll store some user details. So we are just focusing on login and sign up, so it's not a big deal to have it. Okay, so once we have this user, then we need to create all those properties which you have seen, right? If I just show you my Angular code, so in the sign up, so we need all these fields. Okay, so for that I'm creating the model. Okay, and to create a model, that's how we do. Let's create a class, give it a name, and let's try to add those properties. Okay, so the first property would be ID. Okay, and this is going to be my primary key, so I can give a annotation on the top as key, and we can click here to, so if you hover on this, you will get option to import. Can you see we get option to import this? So let's click on this using, and this gets imported on the top. You see, import on the top. So key, so this is going to be our primary key, and let's add the other folders. So let me say prop string, so we need first name. Okay, prop, then again string, we need the last name. Okay, string will store our username. Okay, then again prop string, password, prop string, token. And if you guys don't know how I'm doing this fast, it's very easy to create this. Just click prop and press tab 2 times. That's it. That's how it comes. Okay, so we'll okay, I'll store a role as well here directly, and we'll have an email as well in the last string, email. Okay, so our model is ready. Okay, and if you don't like this warning, then what you can do, just go inside your project, just click here, and can you see it is unable? You can just disable it, save it, and now if you go in the user, so this will get removed. Can you see? That's how you do. So we just disable that in the label thing. Okay, so our model is ready. Okay, so now we need just the Nugget packages which is required. So Nugget packages same like what we have in npm, right? So we install some packages and make our life easy to be very honest. Okay, so to download the Nugget packages, so we have to right click here, and we have to click on manage Nugget packages. Okay, so once you click there, so we need to install 4 things, and as you can see for me it is showing here the first 4 we need to install. The first one is Microsoft Entity EF Core. Okay, you can search here the name, and this will get like visible. So let's click here, click on install, press OK, and click on I accept. Okay, so this is got installed. Okay, the entity framework core is done. I hope so. Let's see. It is not done, I guess. Okay, let me do it again. I think something broke. I'm not sure. Wait, let me check. Try the other one first. Okay, I click on I accept. Something is running. Yeah, I can see those are getting installed, but yeah, we are not able to see them. Like their green checks comes there, so it tells that the entity framework is installed. I'm not sure, for me it is not showing. So let's see again, let it get load all the packages. Okay, so the EF core is done. Then we will be requiring SQL, this JWT as well. So click on JWT, click on install, click OK, click on I accept. Okay, I think that is also done. So we can see here in the installed section. Okay, so we have our JWT, we have our core, we have our SQL server. One thing is missing, which is EF core tools. Okay, so you can search for EF core tools. Okay, let it come. So this is what we need. Okay, so click here, click on install. We will again ask for this question, say okay and say I accept. And I guess that's about it. Now if you go in the installation section, you will see your packages is installed, the 4 packages what I wanted. Okay, so this 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you need to have these 4 installed. Okay, so once you have this, then only you can proceed further. Alright, now as I told you, now we have to jump to the context file. So let's go here and create our DB context. Okay, so for creating a DB context, again we need to create a class. Okay, a normal class. So click on add and click on class. Okay, let's give a class name as appdb context. Okay, let it get load. Yeah, it loaded. So appdb context. So once we have this file ready, so the first thing we need to do is, so we need to inherit from DB context. Okay, so this is, so if you just hover on this, click on show potential fix, and you need to import this. So this is coming from Microsoft.entity framework. Okay, so once we have this, we need to create the constructor. So to create that, just press CTOR and press 2-time tab, or you can also manually write this. So that's not a problem. Okay, so we just need to inject that instance, okay, inside the controller. So we have DB context options. Okay, so inside the option, the angle bracket, we need to pass our DB context name, which is app DB context. Right, and inside that, let's so that's how we injected it, and we need to pass it to the base as something like this. Okay, so this, once this is done, so we need to also create our DB set so that we can communicate it with the database. So this is the model which will be sent to the database, correct? So we need to create a DB set for it. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a DB set. Again, let's create a public, change it integer to DB set, and let's give the name as user model. So this is the model name user which we have created, this one. Let's import this as well in this file. So you can see using API auth API.models, and let's give it this name as users. Okay, so in this way our DB context file is also ready, and we also need to send this record to the table, correct? So for that, let me create a method. So we have this protected override void on model creating. Okay, so we have on model creating. So let me tell you what I will be creating in instance of a class. Let me show you that what is actually that. So we have this on model creating, and inside that we have a model builder. Okay, so this is our class. Okay, and let's create this model builder, and this model builder will help to take the entity from your .NET Core and send it to the table which is in your SQL side. So it is the same, whatever I said, the same I will be doing it now. So we have this model builder dot entity, take this entity and send it to the table, and we can give the table name as well. Okay, so we can give a table name as TBL user or just users. Okay, it's all dependent on you. So whatever name you gave here, so the same name gets created in the database. Okay, again, I think I have missed this part. That let me just tell you, we are using entity framework code first approach. Okay, which means we will be writing code and stuff. We need to run some migration, and after that our database will get created automatically. Okay, so I'll show you that. No worry, don't worry. Okay, so once this option things has been done, so we need to configure the same in your startup.cs class. Whoops, I think I made a mistake. It's not startup.cs class now. Now it is program.cs. Like if you guys are coming from .NET 3.1, 2.1 or 5.0, then you guys have seen a file called as startup.cs. Like if you are working in .NET 5 or .NET 3.1, then you will have that startup.cs class. But if you are on .NET 6, then that file has been removed. Okay, so now I'll go in the program.cs, and here on this line we need to like configure that service. Okay, so once we configure the service, then we will be able to do our database call. Okay, so to configure it, what we need to do is, so we have something called as services. Okay, let me write here builder. Okay, builder dot services. Okay, builder dot services dot, there is option for adding a DB context. So we have an option add DB context. Okay, this one. Okay, so in the angle bracket, again we need to give the name of your app DB context. So it was app DB context. So this is add DB context, and this is the context which we have created here. Okay, so this is that name. So we need to import this. Click on show and click on using. Okay, so yeah, remember that we have passed that option there, correct? So there was the reason behind that. So that option will get value from here. Okay, so what we will be doing, right? So let's have this. Okay, let's create this bracket, and inside that we have the option, and so we say option dot. So we are using SQL server, right? So we have to say use SQL server. Okay, something like this. Or if you're using MySQL, then you have to say MySQL. Or if you're using Postgres, then that will be a Postgres SQL. Okay, so for us it is SQL server, so that's how we put. So SQL server, and inside this we need to pass our connection string. Okay, so let me first write here something called as builder dot configuration dot get connection string. Okay, I know you will be asking, Shashi, what are you doing? So I'll explain you after this step. Okay, so I will have a key name called as SQL server. SQL server con str. So this is SQL server connection string. That's how I put. And again, this will throw an error. So for that, we have to import something which is using Microsoft Entity Framework Core. Again, that's get imported on the top. This one. Okay, now let me try to explain you this line. What does this line does? Okay, so this is nothing but helps you to create we can make use of configuration files. So we should not hard code it here. So what we will do, we'll make use of app settings. Okay, and here we have a property called as connection string. Okay, and inside this connection string, okay, we need to pass in that name, right? We have given the name as SQL server con string. Okay, so that's how we'll do. So I'll copy it from here so that it will be easy, no mistake in spelling. Paste it here. Okay, and inside this you will have your connection string. Okay, so what is a connection string now? I hope you guys have this question. So if you open up your SQL Server database, so here you see, right? So let me first add those required things which is important. The first one is data source. Okay, so we need to pass in the data source, and this is nothing but the name of your SQL. Like for example, for me the connection string name, if you click on connect, sorry, not this one, we cancel it, this one. Can you see we get a server name, right? So that's what I need to put on the data source. So let me copy this, and I can paste it this after the equal to. Okay, I'm not sure why that came. Let me remove this as well. Yes, all right. So now we have this SQL server. So this is our data source. So once we have this data source, after that we need to have the initial catalog. Okay, so the initial catalog is nothing but your database name. Okay, so let's give it a name, initial catalog. I think the spelling is, yeah, it's correct, initial catalog. So we have spelling as catalog, and we can say equals, we can give any name, so we'll give auth db version 1, or maybe I think that's not a good name. Let's give it a name as authentication API DB. Okay, auth API DB. Correct. So that's how the catalog looks like, and then we need to put your integrated. So if you don't know how to get this connection string, it's quite easy. You can Google it as well, you'll get the answer, but I'm trying to explain it what all these things are. So okay, so we have this integrated security as true. Okay, we can mark it as true. That's all. That's how the connection string looks like. So you just need to pass the data source and this value, you know, where I have taken it from. Then we have this initial catalog. Okay, so this initial catalog is nothing but the database name which you want to give, and then we have this integrated security as true. Okay, now let me first show you that if this database exists or not. Like, I haven't created this DB yet. Okay, let me show you in my SQL server. If you go here, can you see there is only auth DB, not auth API DB. So there is no auth API DB anywhere here. Okay, so what we can, so now you can see we have database not created, but the database will get created after a command, and let me tell you what is that command. Okay, now once this thing is ready, so open up your package manager console. This is the one. If you don't see this, then click on view, click on I guess it is some other window, yes, other window, and there you will get an option for package, yeah, this one, package manager console. And that's how you open this. Okay, so once you have this console open, hit the command, and before that you need to save all the changes. Okay, now hit a command called as add migration, and let's give a name to your migration as v1, version 1 migration, something like that. Okay, can you see build start? It will take few seconds, so let's wait for it. And it says build succeeded, and now this will create a folder here called as migration. Okay, so it says unable to create an instance of app.db context for the different pattern support at design time. Okay, so let me check what is wrong here. Okay, so it says something is wrong in the app setting, as I see here. So that's why okay, so this was the mistake, guys. So if you should not have it here, this should be here. That's how we end it. I'm so sorry, it was mistake at our end. Okay, so now I think now again we can click on save all, and now we need to run the same command again, add migration v1, and hit enter. Build succeeded. I want to see it done, so once it says done, then the migration is completed. Okay, all right, so now I can see the migration is completed because we have a folder created here. Okay, and now it gives all those things like how the table will gets created and all those stuff. Okay, so here we have created our what we say, the migration folder. Okay, so once this is done, we need to hit one more command to update the same. Like, just by creating command, it will not create a database here. If I refresh it, can you see it will not show anything yet? Let me just refresh and just show it to you. I know it takes time. Let's wait. Okay, so can you see there is still not auth API DB. So once we hit a command called as update database, I'm not sure if it is visible to you guys. Let me zoom in a little bit. Yep, update database. So once we click this command, update data, and hit enter. Okay, the spelling is incorrect. Again, I did a mistake. I'm so sorry, guys. So database and hit enter. Okay, so the command is update -database. The build is succeed. I want to see done. Once it says done, which means the database and tables get created on your SQL server. Okay, see, I don't know SQL commands, and without knowing the command, I have created the database and all the required tables. Now if I try to refresh this, Okay, let's again wait for some time. Okay, now can you see the database got created, auth API DB, and if I open up this and if I go in the table, okay, so it also created my user table. Can you see users? If I just click here and click on select, exactly, so we have our ID, first name, last name, user, password, to control, and email. So whatever model we have created, okay, so let me zoom out again. Okay, so whatever model we have created, I'm not sure, I think my screen size was very small. Okay, I'll try to make it zoom when I'm editing the video, don't worry. Okay, so if you see here, so whatever users I have created here, all the same thing got created on my database as well. Okay, so that's how we do those migration and update database. All right, now let's focus on the controller part now, because in the controller we need to create the API for login and sign up. Okay, but before that, let me again take a quick recap so that you can, if you have missed, like, because my screen size is small, so you can have a look. So the first thing, we created the model. Okay, and the second thing, we created the DB context, app DB context, this one. Okay, and before creating this, we have installed a few packages. Okay, so let me show you what all those packages were. Click on manage. So we have installed these 4 packages. Okay, and after that we created the DB context file, and once this is done, we have hit 2 commands. The first one was add migration, this one, and the second one was update database. Okay, so once you are till here, so the third, like the last step, would be creating the controller and creating our 2 endpoints for login and sign up. Okay, so let's right click on the controller and click on add. Click on controller, select an empty, and select here also API controller, and this should be empty because we'll start from empty in controller. And let's remove this name and just give the name as user. Okay, so we are creating user controller, and click on add. Okay, so once we click that, our controller gets created here. Okay, so now we will be creating our first API. Okay, so before that, let me first create the constructor, because we need to inject a DB context class, because this is the one which helps us to communicate with the database, correct? So we need to make use of this app DB context. So let me try to inject that. So private read only. Okay, and our app DB context, we have to import this, so just import it, and let's give the name as auth context. Okay, and let me give the same name here as again app DB context, as app DB context, and inside this we can pass this auth context will be equals to app DB context. Okay, or I think so this name should match, I guess, I'm not sure, it depends. This also works. Let's keep it like this, let's not confuse. Okay, let's keep it like this only, auth context, because we are doing it for authentication and authorization, so that's why I kept it as auth context. Okay, so let's create the first endpoint. So for that, this will be our HTTP post. So HTTP post, and inside that we have a route called as authenticate. Okay, so I passed it, and let's create the method. So public async task of iAction result. Okay, and let's give the name as authenticate. Okay, so once we have this authenticate, so a user will be sending a body, okay, a login object, like for example to log in. Okay, let me again show you our application. So for login, we will be sending 2 things, username and password, correct? So that's why we will have a body, so we will say from body. All right, and we have your user. Okay, so we have this user created, this one, this model user. Okay, let me import this. So click on show potential fix. and let's say user object. All right, now what we need to do is first we'll check if my user object is null. If it is null, then we can return directly bad request. Bad request means 400 error, so it throws the 400 error like the user is null. But if the user is not null, okay, so we need to check, because we are doing a login here first. Okay, so that's all we do. So for that, if the user exists, for example, if the user is already there in the database, so we need to check that. We'll say where user equals, okay, so we'll do a call. So we say await, okay, let me have space, and then I call my context, auth context dot user, okay, user dot, I'll say first or default async. Okay, so once you have async here, because we are using async and await, so this method has to be async. So and this throws an error, so you need to just import EF core, entity framework core. Okay, and inside this you need to pass the logic as where x dot, okay, your x dot user, like username matches and all those things. So you can check that. We can check x dot username is there. So we can say your user object, so this user would be j dot username. If we have this username, which means we can say yes, user exists, correct. So you can check for ID also, you can check for username, because we will be having username unique, so that's why I put as username. Okay, if the user is found, for example, we have a user here, then we can do the further step. But if there is no user, if the user is null, which means the user not found, correct, we can return not found, correct, we can return not found, and inside that we can just say new. We can pass in our own message as user not found. Okay, that's what we do if the user is null. But if the user is there, for example, if we can check for the password also. Okay, we can check for the password, that if the password is also correct, which matches with the user, then we can proceed. Or for example, we can do this in the first line only. I think I have missed that. So we can check on this line only, and what we can do, we can check for x dot password is equal to user object dot password. If that matches, if these two are matching, like username and password are matching, then the user is there. But if there is no user, then we can just say not found, something like that. I hope I'm not confusing you. Okay, I'll explain it again if you want. All right, then what we need to do is we can just say return okay. We can say return okay, or we can send a message as new, and then we can say message as login success. Okay, so let me again explain. If the user object is null, if someone is sending a blank object, then it will return a bad request. If we are checking if the user has the same username and password what user have sent, if it is there, then it will come to this line. If it is not there, if it is null, then it will come to this line. Okay, so that's how we write the logic for login. Okay, now let me write it the same for a register. So again, we have a HTTP post. Okay, and this will say that register, or we can say add, or whatever you're comfortable with. You can give any name to here, so you can put here as register, and again public async task of I action result. Okay, and this say register user. Again, we will be getting it from body, so let's add this attribute from body. Okay, this is my user and this will be going to my user object. So register is very straightforward, guys. It is very straightforward. We just need to check if the object is not blank, that's all. So first we'll check about that. So we say if user object is null, then we can say return bad request. Okay, return bad request. Okay, but if it is not null, if it is having value, like you can do like multiple checks as well. For example, we can do here if string dot is null or empty. There is something called as this. So we can do this check as well, where we can check user object is not null, okay, or password is not null, user obj dot username. So we can check if string is not null or something like that, we can do. Okay, but I think this makes our job, so no need of that. Correct. Okay, now as we have checked that it has some values and all those things, then we need to add this. So for adding it in the database, so we'll say here that the context, so we'll say await, we have the auth context dot the user dot add async, and we can add the user object in the database. Okay, once we have added, we need to say save it. Correct. So we can say auth context dot save changes async, and once we save it, we can just return OK, and inside that we can give a body here, and it says that message as user registered. Okay, let's save this. It is very straightforward, guys. First we have a register and then we have authenticate. Okay, let me try to run this. If this is done, then you can run the application. Okay, because now it will open your Swagger. So as I have told you that we will be also having a look what Swagger is and all those things. So Swagger is nothing but it is just like your Postman. So we have a Postman to do API testing. So in the same way, the Swagger gives us a great UI, like user interface, where we can do the same job what we were able to do it in the Postman. Okay, so here you can see we have created two endpoints. First is for register and second is for authenticate. Okay, so first we'll try to register. Okay, so I go here, click on try it out. I don't need ID because ID is auto incremented. So we just give a first name, we give a last name, we give a username, then we give a password, token will be blank, role will be blank, or we can give a role if you want, like he's a user, and we can give an email as well. Okay, and now we can click on execute. So once we execute, this will do that call to your server, and then it will send it to your database. Okay, so let it get done, and the first time this takes time. Can you see we get a message called as user registered? So let me register one more user, John Smith, and he will be John 30. Password will be same, token, and then I'll change this to admin, and yep, this again has to be changed to John. Okay, now let's again execute this, and can you see this was very faster and the user was registered. Now let's check on the database if this is the case. So just run this query, execute. Can you see we got two users added? Okay, Shashi and John. All right, now let's try to log in with the same user credentials. So if I click on try it out, so for sign up we just need two things. So I'll just remove all the unnecessary part. So we just need password. Correct, we just need password, and we just need username, those two things. Rest I can remove. Okay, so the username was yshashi30 and the password was admin. If I click on execute, can you see this? Okay, so it gives me 400 error. So let me check what is that. Okay, if I go in the top, oh, this was the problem, so we don't need this comma. Okay, now click on execute. Okay, now it says 404, which means user not found. Okay, now I will help you to do the debugging if you want, but I know what is the, can you see the name is incorrect. Can you see we don't have this kind of username in the database. We have yshashi30 and I was trying to log in with this name, so that's what it's returned me. It returns me 404, user not found, which means there is no user with this username because this was incorrect. And if I try to change it with the correct one, and now if I try to execute, so can you see we get a 200 and it says login success. Okay, so that's how we create the API in .NET and in Angular, sorry, in .NET. And now we will be trying to integrate this same API in the Angular. Okay, so this is what we have it in our point number 5. Let me just show you our points. Okay, so we have actually completed our creating the API for login and sign up. So I can make it as done. Okay, and again now we have to concentrate on point number 5. Okay, so I will do that now. Okay, let's see how we can integrate this API with your Angular. But before that, let's take a quick recap again. So what all things we have did. Okay, so if I open up my Visual Studio Code, so here if you see we did some coding in our controller. So we created a controller called as user controller. Okay, and inside that we have injected our app.db context, correct? And by using this app.db context, we are able to save and get the records from the database. So the first endpoint we created is authenticate, which will help me to log in. Okay, so for that we are passing the user object. Okay, and then from here we are trying to check if the user object is null, then it returns bad request. Else it will go in the second line and it will check for if user exists or not. So it calls the user by checking if user name and password which we have sent from the UI is matching. If that is not matching, then it says user not found. But if that matches, which means there is a user exist, and we can say yes, login success. And for doing the register, it was very simple. If the body is empty, then it returns a bad request, and if the body is not empty, it will check for those details and it will try to save it in the database. So it is add a sync, saves, like put it in the database, and this line helps to save it in the database. So this adds and this saves, and once that is done, we can return message as user registered, and that's what it did. Okay, now let's try to create the APIs on your Angular side. Okay, so let me open up our Angular. Okay, where is that? Let me open up it here. I think that's taking a time. Yeah, here it's open. Okay, so here we have this folder structure already. So let's go in the app and we have our services ready. Okay, so in the services we will try to create that that login part and sign up part. Okay, so first of all we need to give it a good name. So we should give it some name like auth service, because it is helping us to do those authentication and authorization. Okay, so we'll try to give it a good name called as auth. So to create a service, we just need to hit a command here in the CLI. So let's go here and hit that command. Okay, so we say ng g for generate, s for service. We need to create service, but we need to create it inside this folder. So for that we have services /. Now we need to give a name to our service. So we'll give auth. So this is the name of our service, auth. Okay, so let's wait for it to get created. So the service is created as you can see. So we have this auth service ready now. Okay, So now, inside this, first of all, we need to have the URL where we need to hit the API. So let's create a property to store it. So we have a base URL of type string, and we can give the value. So what is the URL for it? So let's go here in the Swagger. Okay, and in the Swagger you can find that URL. For example, if I want to post or execute, just click there, you will get the URL. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, so this is what the URL looks like, and we just need to put it here inside this. Okay, we can remove this. Yep, so this is our base URL. Okay, now we need to do the API call. Okay, HTTP calls. So for that we need to import first thing, we need to first inject the HTTP client. So let's do that. Private HTTP and HTTP client. Okay, this is the guy. It doesn't take, so we need to import it manually. So we'll say import from angular/common/HTTP. So we need to import HTTP client. So let's put it here, HTTP client. So once this is imported, they are gone. And also we need to import it in the module. Okay, so let's try to do it here. So in the imports array, we need to have HTTP client module. Okay, so that's how we do API calling. So this is the preliminary step, I would say. To do the API call, first you need to import HTTP client module inside your app module folder and have it in the import array. Once this is done, then wherever you need to call that API, like the HTTP call, so inject that HTTP client inside the constructor of the service, and that's how you will be able to do API calling. Okay, now let's create our first, which is signup, and we'll also have one more method called as login. Okay, both are a post call. So let me try to pass a body as well. So we say user obj, correct, and currently let me give it as a type as any, and here also let me give login obj, and let's give it a type as any. Okay, now we need to say return, we do this dot http, okay, http dot post. We are doing a post call, that's why. Okay, and inside this we need to pass the base URL. Sorry, let's pass the base URL. So let's do the string interpolation. So press this double tick, this is present on the left hand side, like this is before 1, you have the numeric keyboard, so press that. Okay, and then here we have the base URL. Okay, and then for doing the login or for doing the sign up, we need to have the API as register. We see register, this one. So let's copy this guy and paste it after this register. Okay, so this is the post call, so that's why it accepts an object. So he's complaining for that, so we need to pass the body as user obj because this is a post call. Okay, same thing has to be done for your login. So let me copy that and paste it here. Just we need to change this one. So from register, this has to be authenticate. Okay, so this has to be authenticate, this guy. So you can copy this or you can type it down manually. So let's try to add it manually, authenticate. Okay, and sorry, here we need to do that, authenticate, and then we need to pass login obj, not the user obj. Let's pass this. Okay, so in this way our service is ready. Okay, service is ready. Now we need to inject this auth service inside your login. Okay, so first let's try to do the login. Let's go in the login component.ts. Okay, and let's try to inject the auth service, private auth service. That's how we inject. It is imported on the top as well. Can you see? Yeah, the first line. Okay, now so we have already a method for on submit, or maybe I can change it to on login. and same name has to be changed on the UI, so let me do that as well. Okay, so it will be somewhere down here, this one. So I just changed the on submit to on login. Okay, now so it checks for the form. I had told you, right? So we need to send the object to database, so that's how we do. So if you see, we have two objects, username and password. So what we'll do is below this, let's try to call this dot auth dot login, and inside the login we need to pass some body. So the body will be this dot login form dot value. Okay, once we pass the value, we can subscribe to it, and then let's try to add the success response. So we can have the response, we can alert response dot message. Okay, and in the next we can put here error. This is our error block, which will helps to display your error. So we can alert error dot message. Okay, something like this. We can check it if it is not null. Okay, so like this. Okay, so that's how we do the login. Okay, same thing has to be followed on your sign up component. So let's go in the sign up and again try to inject your service. So let's go in the constructor. Let me make it really short. Okay, let's go here in the constructor and let's inject the auth service. Okay, this is incorrect, so this has to be colon. Okay, once we have the auth service, again here we need to perform that logic. So this dot auth dot, we have sign up, and then we can pass in the body of sign up dot value. So once we put the value, we can subscribe to it. Okay, so we're subscribing, just say dot subscribe, and the response, again let's create an object next, and here we'll have the response. We can alert the response, whatever we are getting it from the database, or sorry, from the backend, and we will have an error block. So it says error, and then we can alert. Okay, this should be error dot message. Then we can check for null. So let's do that as well. Okay, so that's how we do. And now let's check if that thing works as expected. So let me open up my Angular. So let's go here, and yeah, that's how we have this ready. Now let's click on sign up, and let's try to sign up a user. I would say Raju Singh, and this is very weird. I'm not sure if this name is good or not, but yeah, let's type in the username raj@gmail.com, then let's get it raj30. This is the username which we need to remember while login, and password I'll put as same, admin, and let's click on sign up. So it gives me undefined. I'm not sure what does it mean, so let's see in the console what is actually that undefined is. Okay, so I can see there is one error while sending it to the backend, and can you see this is one of the famous error which throws. I think lots of people ask me on my Telegram channel as well that what is this error, what is this course, and how to enable this course and all those things. Can you see? This course is because we are trying to call a different origin, because our origin is 4200 and we are trying to call 7183. Okay, so let me again start. If we are trying to call a different origin, so that's how a course error occurs. Okay, so to solve the course error, so what you need to do is you need to configure the course in the backend. Okay, so I will be showing how to configure course in .NET Core. So let me open up my .NET Core. Okay, so here we have our .NET Core project. So I am into my, so let me stop this first. Okay, Okay, stopped. Okay, so now what I will be doing, so let's come in the program.cs file where we can configure the CORS. Okay, so here on this line I'll say builder dot services. Okay, services dot, if you press dot then you say add CORS. So once you put this, can you see you get the option to add a CORS here or to configure the CORS here. Okay, so inside that you will have option. Okay, and then what you can do is you can add a policy first. You can give a policy name to your CORS. So we can say option dot add a policy. So the first parameter you need to pass is the name of the policy. So let's give it a name as my policy. Okay, and then we can make use of this builder to now. Yes, so now this builder will helps us to allow all those origins. So we can say here builder dot, so we have these methods allow any header. Okay, so we can just put it in line like what all things we need to allow. So we can say builder dot allow any origin. So we have allow any origin. Okay, and I'm trying to change this, so we can say dot allow any method. Okay, then again I'll say dot allow any header. Okay, so that's what I did. So it will now allow any origin, any method, or any header. So it will not throw any CORS error if you're trying to hit this backend API. Okay, but this is still not done. So we have just configured it, but we need to register this inside your pipeline. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go here and always remember use like we need to put this CORS above your authentication and authorization pipeline. Okay, so we need to have this above authorization. So we say app dot use CORS. Okay, and we just need to give the name of your policy. So the policy name was my policy. Okay, and I think there is one thing is missing. Let's add it, that app dot use authentication. So let me add it, use authentication, because we are doing the authentication authorization, so it is important. So let's have this thing. Okay, always remember you need to put the CORS policy above your authentication. Okay, all right, now let's try to run the API. Okay, I hope it is running. So let's get to the Swagger endpoint page. Let's see, it's still taking time. Yeah, so here it opens it, and now let's go inside your Angular application again on the UI, and now let's try to hit this data again. So we have this sign up body ready. Let's click on sign up. Okay, so there will be a network call there. Let me just show you. Yeah, so we got 200. Can you see we got a message called as user registered. If I press OK, okay, all right. So I can see there is a bad behavior here, that once the user is registered, we need to reset this form. Okay, so let's go on the sign up. Okay, let's go in the sign up page, and once your form is success, you get an alert message. So we can say this dot sign up form dot reset. Okay, that's how we do. All right, now this sign up is ready. So now let's try to validate the same thing by using login. So if the user is able to log in or not. Correct. So let's go on the sign up page and just click here Raj30. So this was my username and the password was admin. So we can check it as well. Yeah, that's correct. And now if I click on login, okay, so that will do the API call, and now it says login success. Okay, so that's what we do. Okay, but I need to change behavior a bit. Okay, so once I put all the details here, and if the sign up is success, okay, so I want to route to the login page, and if the login is success, then I want to route it to the dashboard page. Okay, something like that. So let's try to write the logic for it. Okay, if the sign up is success, so let's call your router private router. Okay, let's inject this. Okay, now let's go in this body where the form is reset. So we can say this dot router dot navigate, and we can navigate again to the login page if the sign up is success, so that we can log in. Okay, and if the user logs in successful, then we want to show it to the dashboard page. Okay, so let's create a dashboard component. So let's go here and hit the command ngg c for component, and we need to create dashboard component inside this component folder. Okay, so okay, the spelling is incorrect, I'm so sorry. This has to be components. Let's put it as components at the moment. Okay, all right, and slash, we need to give the name as dashboard and hit enter. So can you see, yeah, our component got created here, and it has also updated your app module.ts, which is good. All right, now let's try to register this component inside your routing. Okay, I go here and I put a path as a dashboard. It's a small. If the path is dashboard, then we can load the component called as dashboard component. Okay, that's what we do. And once this is also done, let's click all save. And now let's go to login and do that thing. All right, so now here again we call the router. Okay, let's import this. Okay, and now I go here. If my login is success, then I can say this dot reset, or I can say first this dot login form dot reset. I want to reset the form if it is success, and I want to go to the dashboard page. So for that I will be using router dot navigate, and we can go on the dashboard page. Let's click on save. Okay, so once this is also done, let's try to see the behavior now. Okay, let's do a small demo. First I'll try to sign up, so let me put up a sign up credentials. James Codes, email will be james@gmail.com, the username will be james30, and password will be again admin. I'll keep the password same. Okay, James30. Now if I click on sign up, let me close this, click on sign up, I see user registered, and if I click OK, so it comes on the login page automatically. And now if I try to sign up with James30 as a username and the password was admin, let's verify it, yes, and now click on login. Can you see the login is success, and now we comes to the dashboard page. Okay, so this is what I wanted. So that's how we have successfully integrated the API, the .NET Core API with the Angular. Okay, so again a very quick recap to explain you what I did. So first thing, I created a service, okay, this auth service, and I called this HTTP client to do the API calling. I created two methods, sign up and login, passed in the object, those two objects, and we are passing it to the backend. And once this service is created, we are injecting this service inside your login and sign up. Okay, so in the constructor we are injecting the auth service and also the router. Okay, and now here we are calling that method auth.signup. We are sending the sign up object. If it is success, then it gives the alert as success. We are resetting the form and we are sending it to the login page. And in the login page, we are doing exactly the same. We are injecting the auth service to do the API call. We have the router. If the login is success, we are resetting the form and sending the user to dashboard page. Okay, and this was the way where we have created the login and sign up. Okay, login and sign up in Angular and .NET Core. Okay, so if you have any questions, like if you have anything like you are not understanding it, then you can comment, and I will be definitely gonna answer like what went wrong, and we can connect on Telegram to fix your doubt. Okay, so for now let me just try to change the status of the deck, because we have completed this as well. So we have successfully integrated the API with your Angular. Okay, so now in the next session what we are going to cover is we are going to see how we can hash the password. Okay, if you see in the database, we can see what is the password of the user, right? And which is not good. It's not good to have this. Okay, so what we will do in the next session, we will try to see how we can hash the password, and also we will see the best ways of doing the server side validation. Okay, and we'll also try to improve a code a bit, because we haven't did that much improvement. We have just created the simple API and we are just trying to use it in Angular. Okay, but in the next session we will try to improvise our code. Okay, so please stay tuned for that, because that will be the very important lecture where you will see the some advanced topic on the authentication authorization thing. Okay, okay guys, so till that time, bye bye and keep learning guys.